What, Adam? You haven't been on in a couple weeks here, and all of a sudden you're kidnapping people.
Yeah, we got my father on the show, our only super fan.
I love it. You brought him out, got him from behind the screen to the front of the screen there, huh?
It's time to sit in the hot seat.
That's right. Nobody waiting to see your podcast today.
I know. What are we gonna do? We gotta make sure the stream goes up and all one person watches it. But we'll cover some fun stuff here today. Our post.
It'd be kind of fun if you got about 1,000 views on it just because of your special guest.
We'll blast it out. We'll see if we can get all your friends on there to like, comment, learn things that they probably already know, and listen to us talk about budgeting and covering proper insurance coverage and all that fun stuff. First question for you guys then is who's the better golfer?
More recently is me. I'm not even sure you can golf anymore.
I can play a tee box maybe. My back is a little squishy down low. But
I'm sure Adam doesn't cut you any breaks like you probably cut him some breaks when he was a kid.
Yeah. They're all just good excuses for too lazy to go play.
Yeah. Well, I know how that feels. It's probably hot enough to where I'd be too lazy to play right now.
It's pretty hot. I think we got some storms rolling through today.
Never fails to have a Wednesday with you and I where we're going to have some severe weather.
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, baseball size hail, all the fun stuff that insurance guys love.
It's great.
Well, let's talk about the Father's Day weekend here. U.S. Open, J.J. Spawn kind of coming out of the middle of nowhere, almost out of golf, and ends up winning it. And so we got like 5 years of exemptions to all the majors now.
Yeah, the guy. I mean, I think he finished second in the Players. He went to that playoff with Rory, but I think I read a little bit. The guy like walked on in college, got on the tour, almost found his way out of the tour, and now he's a major champion. Which, I mean, that's wild. And the hardest tournament, by the way, I think that's the hardest one to win. It's just set up so difficult.
Hey, with that course setup, he won with a total -1.
That's insane.
I think there's some comments, maybe on some slow play there at some point with Scotty's group. 71 minutes to play 3 holes.
Wow.
I can do that.
Having dads on shows, if Tony Sr. was on here, he would have hit into them. So we know how that goes. 5.5 inch rough. A little bit of a brutal setup for these guys. I thought it was pretty crazy watching them walk over an interstate too, while moving on to future tee boxes. But now for all the fun questions for your pops here, Adam.
Let's go for it.
All right. What was the first property you ever bought, and how much did it cost?
Yeah, the first property we bought
Was it Glen?
Was Glen Avenue in Normal, Illinois, and I think it was $37,000.
That's what it was?
$37,000?
$37,000.
You can't even get a Honda Civic with leather seats for that now.
And well, see, it didn't have windows in it, so it was a little cheaper than most of them around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It didn't?
No. But it was an in-house family mortgage, low 10% down. Maybe, I don't know what we gave her down. It was my mother's loan. She scraped up the cash to cover the $35,000 house.
What if you would have gone to the bank? Do you remember what the rate would have been?
We paid about the same as a bank. It was
10%.
Well, babe, yeah, probably back then it was in 82, I think. And probably the mortgage rates were maybe 12 or so back then.
Nice.
And then so it was a family inside deal. Worked out good. We owned it for, I don't know, 7-8 years, and then moved into the home we have now that he grew up in. Actually, he grew up in the first home for a little while.
All right, so you guys, so only two houses in that time period there.
Well, we bought, yeah, well, that we lived in. When he went to school, I bought a house over in Peoria for him and a bunch of college boys to
Yeah,
live in. So that I owned that just for a few years.
party house.
Yeah, well, that was against the rules, but I think it was. Yeah. And airsoft battles. I think there were airsoft battles that caused ceiling damage in the attic.
No, some missing drywall, some busted up plaster, all that stuff. I'm guessing Adam probably didn't get a security deposit back from you.
Lots of stories there. I think a car drove through the front porch at one point, which was fun.
I'm sure the insurance agent, he probably cringes on some of those things now.
Yeah, we did at the time.
Actually, I learned about insurance on that college house over on Barker. We had some roof damage on our existing house, and I called the State Farm agent in, and he looked at it and he said, "Hey, what's that spot over there down on the main floor?" I go, I think I had a pipe burst and it stained the ceiling." He goes, "Well, I'll just do that one too." And I said, "Okay, sounds good." So I got both things fixed, and I found out that it created 2 homeowners claims on my house within a week. And when I went to get insurance for that house, they thought I was a high risk because of that.
Yeah. Bad advice.
Yeah. Or it was just my choice. I didn't have to do it. But anyway, it was a much simpler time back then, dude.
I'm sure. I mean, Adam, when we have clients with multiple claims in a very short period of time now, I think we're running into situations where they may just be declined outright. And
Yeah, it's a hard decline.
It's a war, it's a shit thing to deal with, but such is life, which is why we've had all of these other episodes where we talked about if it's just minor damage, call your agent, have a conversation with your agent, call the claims hotline.
Yeah.
It all worked out, but it was just a curveball that I didn't expect. But it all works out.
This one on the kind of running down some paths on learning some things. What's one real estate mistake that you may have made that you wish you could have done over?
Mistake? Maybe not having the balls to buy more.
All right.
Probably is my biggest mistake.
Which would here's an interesting question then. So you think people today might be too focused on interest rates and not focused enough on long-term wealth?
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, when we were raising a family and had everything thrown at us, you look, at least we look for ways to moderate that stuff. So the easiest thing to do is to look at the environmental costs, and interest rates just slap you in the face every time you go to look at rates. So that's where people get pissy about, and they get pissy about $10,000 on a offer or an acceptance, and they probably maybe I miss probably some opportunities because of that. But that's a known thing. He's a risk taker and I'm a risk faker, I guess.
What so I guess I'm moving down the him being a risk taker, maybe you not so much. What do you think the 2 best lessons you taught Adam about money and home ownership were?
Yeah, probably one comes to mind. It was like a lot of when he was young guy. He played soccer, so there was a lot of weekly road trips from Bloomington to Chicago, and a lot of times we're on Sundays, and the favorite thing to do was listen to Bob Brinker's Moneytalk.
Yeah.
Back and forth, and it just, he would listen to it and didn't know if he was absorbing it, but maybe some of that. It wasn't me. It was just I enjoyed listening to that kind of stuff, and the whole critical mass, and the critical mass in Bob Brinker world is just keep saving, just keep pounding, and then eventually you will reach, in his terminology, was critical mass, and that's the point where you can kind of kick it out of gear into cruise, and whatever pile you manage to accumulate, that's what you live off of. So anyway,
I absorbed it. I
yeah.
absorbed all of it. Yeah, I remember it. Bob Brinker, Money Talk. He talked about bulls and bears, and that was like 97 through like 2002. So you had like
Right. The tech bubble.
tech bubble was in there, and all the naysayers. I learned a lot.
Alan Greenspan, the gas fountain, talk about too late Jerome Powell and all that stuff. So listening to, and that's interesting because obviously I've had my dad on the show a few different times too. Adam knows him. My family had a pretty boomer bust approach to real estate a lot.
What is that? What do they call it?
Boomer bust to real estate approach.
Okay. Oh, boom. Well, I thought you said boomer, and I thought you were just getting serious with me there for a minute.
I mean, I can, but
all right.
We'll cut you some slack on that. But I can't stress how important it is. Obviously, Adam's got a couple kids. I have a couple of kids. We have lots of friends and business colleagues that have kids. It's very important to teach your kids money management and teach them about money from an early age. I don't think there's an age, maybe 3 or 4 is probably the time to just start kind of having a concept of it. Because if you show it as a parent, if you show disregard or lack of respect for money or budgeting as a parent, your child's quickly going to end up right down that road, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I agree.
You guys also put me on your credit card as a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, probably.
So I had, when I went to go, even before I bought places, but apartments and stuff, like my credit was always great. And you guys taught me to never, ever miss a payment. Like I have zero. I never carried a credit card balance. I never missed a payment. I never, when I was in college and the kids were signing up for a free t-shirt and getting a credit card at Subway, I was like, you guys are idiots. You don't understand it. But you guys taught me that.
Yeah.
Put the fear of God, like, you never miss it.
Oh, I did that.
My mom did.
Yeah. That's just our habit, but it's a good I would say that's a good thing to get young. I don't know what age, but yeah, as soon as they can, before they get a cell phone, for sure, maybe.
And Red and Savannah both are on our credit cards with socials. They're gonna have, before they even apply for credit, they're gonna have 22 years of credit history.
You guys got a 1050 score here.
Yeah. Oh, this is crazy. I've never seen this.
So Rhett will be able to write checks if I get to know him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He can only swipe. He can't sign yet. What else? What else we need to cover here? So we've seen rates. We talked about rates for a minute there in the 10s on your first house. We've seen them come down to middle 2s at one point in the last couple of years. Do you have an opinion on what you think the interest rate, mortgage interest rates should be, where the market just kind of moves along like normal? It's not boom or bust. It's not, all buyer, all seller.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. My thought is that the 2 and 3% were about as obnoxiously bad as the 12 and 13%, and where we're floating along right now, 6 or 7 is probably a good equilibrium, I would guess. But some of us lived through 18, 19, 20% interest, and not a lot of jobs, and it was pretty shitty. And I haven't seen anything like that since that time, 70s. When I was coming out of college, late 70s, it was like, okay, what do I do now? And there just wasn't a whole lot of activity. They called it, what did they call it? Stagflation.
Yep.
And Yeah, I'd say this right where we're hovering. What is it now? Is 6, 7-ish, 5?
Yeah, I'd say middle sixes.
Maybe a little lower than that. I don't know, but the 2 and 3%, I don't know if it'll ever come back again. Maybe what do you think it'll ever come back?
I don't think so. And I know we said we don't want to keep it get too serious down a rabbit hole on it, but yeah, if you look at the Federal Reserve balance sheet in that period, it's increased by 700%, which has now created all of this extra money supply that's existed, and now we're running into the whole inflation problem. So I don't think that. I mean, I hope to God, honestly, it was awesome to refinance people, but I don't think that we'll see it ever again because it was government subsidized. And if we're trying to rein in budget and curb inflation, pumping money in like that's not going to be the best.
It was their easy way to juice the economy. I mean, just low interest rates gets money flowing, and it's artificial stimulation, basically. I think. I don't know about artificial, but it sure softens the increases the activity and opportunity out there. But to your point, then it introduces all this money, the speed of money changing hands. Man, it creates the price raise, and we saw a little bit of that last year, a couple of years ago. But it's just the government's way of juicing the economy, and we pay for it at some point. And we've been paying for it with high rates for a little while, but it'll come back. Yeah.
Kids go like this, and have money, and all the problems get fixed so much.
Where do you want it to be? Where do you want rates to be?
I think that 6 1/4 is probably the right spot to aim for. Historically, we've seen that band between 5.75 and maybe even 5.5 to 6.5. That's where the market seems to be the most in balance. Transactions move. People aren't necessarily freaked out. The hardest part that we see on the mortgage side of things, though, we've talked about this a few different times, is that because of all of that stimulation and price run up due to low rates, wage growth didn't really happen. So we had prices go way up. Interest rate and cost have gone up, but wage growth hasn't. And unfortunately, a 5.5% mortgage rate and a 7% mortgage rate don't fix the wage gap problem. So we have bigger economic issues, I think, from an affordability standpoint. There's a million different ways to look at it. At one point there was a situation in the middle 2000s where 40-year mortgages came out. I don't think we're going to go back to 40 years mortgages, but there's been a bunch of other creative ideas. But ideas just don't fix the main problem, which is actual true wage.
Yeah.
I just wonder how much of a problem the rates really are, because it seems like in your business that if the rates are high, the home prices are equalized, they come down, and as rates go down, prices on real estate goes up because there's more people chasing the same number of houses. So, I don't know.
It's all kind of relative.
In real estate, it seems like there's a pretty good trade-off between. In other words, I guess what I'm saying is, it doesn't make much sense to me at this point to wait for another half a point lower or another point lower on a mortgage rate, because those can be changed. I mean, if it does drop, and you can certainly refinance it, and so it just puts a lot of hesitation into some people's minds. Some valid and some not, though. That's the thing. So, rates are just the top. Like I said, they're just the easy, low-hanging fruit to bitch about, right?
Yeah, that is the right approach there. It's something to gripe and kick your feet on. And we'll get you with the quick trivia question about rates, and in your comment there about waiting for a rate to maybe move by this dollar, or this dollar amount to this dollar amount. What do you think the difference in in payment is on a $320,000 loan between 6% and 7%.
A monthly difference.
Yeah,
Monthly payment. Is this a math question?
it is a little bit.
Go ahead.
I would guess it's $100 ish, something like that.
So 1% on 320 is going to be $210.
So yeah, nice dinner out.
I was going to say 209.50, so I'd have been closer.
And you didn't bust. So 209.50. The price is right. So
Yeah, there you go. But to that, there, for some people, $200 a month is a deal breaker. That's just the thing. Is it's all relative, and you just to some, well, we might say at $200 you can swing that with a quitting some monthly habit. But for a lot of people, dude, there ain't a whole lot of habits they got, and they gotta figure out how to save 200 when somebody's asking them to spend another 200. So
Yeah.
that's the battle you guys have, is keeping people on track and keeping them from destroying themselves. And you can destroy yourself, or not destroy, you can limit yourself by not taking advantage. And we talk about that all the time. The tolerance of risk again is well, there's some safety in risk aversion, but there's some opportunity costs if you get too far in there with that.
capital R tag words, opportunity costs. We've talked about that one quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Risk on and risk off as well. Mr. Greg, what'd you do for a living?
Well, most of my career was in building trades. I worked for a lumber yard, and then at the end of that, the owner who I kind of connected to, what'd you call him? What'd you call me? A facilitator or something?
He's the visionary, you're an integrator.
Yeah, he's the person. I was fairly wealthy, and he was a visionary, and I could do shit. I mean, I could sell stuff, and I didn't have for him. It was a good deal because I was not going to have him train me. He wanted to send me up to Northwestern to go to get my MBA at some point. I said, dude, I I don't belong up there. And but he had no risk of me learning his trade and competing with him. My function for the owner, the owner of this group of lumber yards, was forgot where I was going with it. He could keep on building, and I kind of grew up from a cabinet salesman coming into it when he was little to maybe his number. Well, I was his guy that was going to take it over while his kids grew up, and he retired. I was going to be the intermediary chief of this group of lumber yards, but his kids ended up not really aspiring to that, so he sold, and I ended my career going back. Well, we went to another lumber yard. Both he and I went to Alexander Lumber. He for 2 years, and I did it for the last 5 years of my for 5 years after his lumber yard sold, and then the last stage, once he left, I was not happy there, and he had he owns a lot of property, and he's a developer, and part of his expansion was commercial real estate and property management. So I came on with him for the last 3 years of my career, just to kind of coast into retirement, which we did 4 or 5 years ago. So.
All right. So
I was a grandpa.
Now I'm a grandpa. That's right.
did you ever think a 2x4 was going to cost $3?
Well, it did. 2x4s were $2.95.
And your margin was?
5.
I was got to worry about how much you make on that 2x4. That's the
Yeah, you didn't make nothing on it. You gave them away.
So from
You made money off caulk. You made money off caulk. That's all you did.
Make a joke. I think there's a joke there.
yeah, the cost, yeah,
So,
I guess if we're looking at things, and maybe you're talking to your grandkids now and instilling some of the stuff that the financial disciplines and things that you taught Adam and Bob Brinker taught Adam while going to soccer games and whatnot. I guess in a quick bit here, are we coaching them to save some money, get to that critical mass spot, learning and understanding risk and reward? What else would we teach the next generation on how to be fiscally responsible?
geez, I'm out of that game. That's his job. That's your guys' job now. But I would say I had a boss early in just out of college who we had 3 kids in diapers. So it was just a battle. And his advice to me was 401ks started coming into action, and that's been my path, some sort of qualified money all through my career. But he was the one that said, he said, join this. I mean, this is a benefit. Whatever you do, put 25, put something in there every month, whether it's $5 or $10. So when I talk to my other grandchildren who are 18, 19, 20 years old, they always hear from me, how much is in your savings account? But if it's just get in that small habit of 15, 25 bucks a month now, even if you're 55 or if you're 15, you got to start doing it, because at some point things are going to stop and you aren't going to have money, either because nobody will hire you or because you're unable to do anything. So unless you're taking care of yourself when you're 15, you're really going to have a hard time when you get to your guys' age. So a penny at a time, just keep saving, and that's your biggest expense. That should be one of your largest expenses as you're kind of going through life. And then what we found out, it was hard to understand that when we were trying to do the math, and as you know, I'm not good at math, we tried to figure out how are we going to survive on our pile. And it was just a little pile, but it's a pile. And the awakening was, dude, we don't have 20% of our income as an expense anymore, because that was savings. That was our biggest expense at the end of our working career, was our savings. So, and it was a pretty large one at the beginning of our careers too. Well, not large, but it was a couple, 2 or 3, 4, 5%, probably 5% as we're going through. So yeah, save money a little bit and just get that habit going and put it away in a qualified program where it's not easy for you to have to act on an excuse to spend it.
Lil Dicky wrote a song about that. I'm gonna play it for him after this.
All right, perfect.
You heard that song?
I think I know what one you're talking about.
You save that money. Was Fetty Wap?
I think we've talked through some books, and we've got one of my other friends on that Adam knows too, talking about savings methodology and the erosion of your wallet and the erosion of transactional friction. And I think one of the really good points you brought up there was putting that money away to where there's a large barrier to reaching or accessing it, because it's real easy now. Click a button, boop your phone somewhere, and spend $1,000 with your eyes closed.
And people aren't mentally strong enough not to touch a big pile. People just aren't mentally strong enough to stay away from it, usually. So that's why you say put the barriers out there.
And I think even take it one step further, I think the deck is stacked against the American consumer on a lot of that stuff too. Let's just make it really easy so you don't feel it. Buy now, pay later, do all these other things. And that's why we talk a lot about the rich dad, poor dad theory too, of let's take 10% of your net earnings and pay yourself first. If you don't pay yourself first, the rest of that money is just going to you'll get $19.99 to death on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other parting pieces of advice? When the Cubs gonna do all right here, Pete Crow Armstrong gonna win the MVP?
They're still in first, right?
I think so. I think I don't even watch baseball anymore. The Savannah Bananas are more my team at this point.
We watched that the other day.
As a Sox fan, I got to kind of give it up on some of that stuff.
The umpires were doing backflips and stuff.
It's the hottest ticket in town.
Love it.
We got what else? Closing up other sports. Panthers rolled the Oilers out, so Panthers win the Stanley Cup there.
And we got the NBA Finals. Is it tonight? Or tomorrow?
Indiana, the hotbed of basketball lately. The Fever, the Pacers. Come on over, all you Illinois folk.
What did you think of Gannon's Burr annihilation of the Preserve Championship up in Minnesota? Oh,
He's the disc golf guy. We have no idea about that.
it's frisbee golf.
I am not the guy to ask those questions to.
It was an amazing outing. He led the field by 8 strokes after 2 rounds. They didn't have a chance. No, by 10 strokes. You find that interesting?
Not really.
No.
All right, let's go on the boat.
Yeah. Well, I what was it called? Was it disc golf? I think I call it frisbee golf. Usually people get upset about
I
that.
don't like that. You don't like that.
I do. I like frisbee golf.
Golf. Stay at the golf course. Doesn't matter if it's in the forest. The way I've been shooting lately, might as well play disc golf because throwing things around trees anyways. All right, Adam, Mr. Hage, anything else? You guys got any other little parting bits here?
Just
No. Just living, man.
Well, then we'll keep doing it. All the people, the 8 people that might listen to the show for 2 seconds.
Appreciate you. Like, subscribe.
What's up?
Okay, come on. 2,000 likes on this, would you please, for me?
We'll work on driving that up. Everyone in the Chicago metro area here, stay safe. These storms come through. Call your insurance agent first before you call a claims hotline because you do not want to accidentally start a claims process without understanding what may or may not happen to your insurance coverage. Other than that, you guys got Adam at adamismyagent.com, applytojr.com, and we're out.
Here we go. Peace out.
I'm done. Cut the show.